Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back to the Vegas Take. Rolling out the red carpet for hour number 2, baby. Glad you could join us talking about the coronavirus and how the MGM properties, many of them are going to be shutting down their buffets. Mike Pence, of course, one day saying, don't shake anybody's hands. Next day saying, well, we're going to shake people's hands. It's just misinformation, misguided, stupidity, whatever you want to call it. And we have a very special guest in studio that is joining us. His name is Doug Basham, does a show here weekly on KDWN, been in radio for a long time. He does a show 2 to 4 p.m. And, we have a lot of people in studio that are on the right that I get into good battles with, but rarely do we have people in studio that lean way to the left. So, Doug, I appreciate you being here. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me.
We have a lot of subjects to get to, Doug. I want to start with this. Recall there was an auto worker yesterday that got into it with Joe Biden about gun control. And Joe Biden points his finger in this guy's face. Now, this auto worker has misinformation because Joe Biden his position is he doesn't want to take everybody's guns away and abolish the Second Amendment.
Right.
His position is very similar to Beto O'Rourke, which I think is a fair position, and it's let's take away those weapons of war. Let's take away some of those assault weapons, those machine guns, so to speak. That's Joe Biden's position. So while this auto worker was wrong, I also don't like the fact that Joe Biden saying you're full of you-know-what. I don't like the fact that Joe Biden points the finger in his face. I don't want to see that either. I don't think Joe Biden handled it the right way. For example, I don't think Barack Obama would have been that aggressive and would have handled it that way. But I think this is another example of like a Joe the Plumber kind of guy. So I want to play you a little bit of audio. This is Jerry Wayne, and I want you to respond to it. The Michigan worker who confronted Joe Biden over guns. He was on Fox and Friends this morning. What a shocker. Here is Jerry Wayne in his own words. Do we have that audio? Is it not playing properly? Okay. Well, I guess it's not playing properly. So Jerry Wayne, the Michigan worker who confronted Joe Biden over guns, basically got in his face. Joe Biden gets in his face. We'll have that audio for you in just a few minutes. Okay, I think we have it now. All right, so this is Jerry Wayne, Michigan worker who confronted Joe Biden over guns. Here it is.
I also asked him how he wanted to get the vote of the working man when a lot of us wield arms. We bear arms, and we like to do that. And if he wants to give us work and take our guns, I don't see how he's going to get the same vote.
All right, so what's your reaction to that, Doug?
My overall take on it is that the whole debate on gun control has been so poisoned by what has become Trump's state-run propaganda ministry, in that we can no longer have a discussion about common sense gun laws. It's like, you want to take our guns. Mm-hmm. And no, that's not it. And that's not the position of any Democrat. They, like you said, they want to get the weapons of war off the street. They're not coming for everybody's guns. A lot of Democrats are gun owners.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. So why do you think this is just a situation where this guy is just not informed?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think he's just trying to stir trouble? Why do you think he brings this up?
The fact that he appeared on Fox today signals to me that he spends too much time listening to Trump's state-run propaganda ministry.
So is it a shocker that this guy, Jerry Wayne, who doesn't sound like he's extremely intelligent, by the way, goes on Fox and Friends? Now, I do want to play this for you because this is why this gentleman feels like Joe Biden wants to take all your guns away, because he didn't understand clearly what Joe Biden was saying on the debate stage. So this is a rally with Beto O'Rourke talking about voters like Jerry. Have a listen to this piece of audio right here.
I want to make something clear. I'm going to guarantee you this is not the last you've seen of this guy. You're going to take care of the gun problem with me. You're going to be the one that leads this effort. I'm counting on you.
Okay, so there's nothing really wrong with that statement.
No.
There's nothing wrong with what Joe Biden just said. But this guy, Jerry Wayne, and this Michigan worker, is referencing those comments. I don't understand the correlation. Joe Biden's not saying he's going to take all your guns away.
No, but the correlation is these people have been so brainwashed into thinking that Democrats are going to come for all your guns that it doesn't matter when they say, no, we just want weapons of war. Then they go to, yeah, well, that's just the start.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense. Listen, I know that you are very anti-Trump, as am I. And I try not to name call. I try not to call Donald Trump names.
I specialize in it.
Well, I know you do. I call him a narcissist. I think he's an egomaniac. I think he's just a really bad guy.
And worst of all, he's a sociopath.
JD, would you agree with that? Do you think Donald Trump is a sociopath?
I don't think he's a sociopath, Brian. He definitely has some elements of narcissism in his personality. He has a giant ego. He's quite arrogant at times. He doesn't like to apologize. I think that he perceives apologies as weakness, but I don't think he's a sociopath or a pathological liar.
Good grief. A man with his own documented searchable database of almost 17,000 lies is not a serial pathological liar? What is he then? A major fibber?
I just don't think he's a pathological liar, Doug.
But what do you have to back that up? I have a documented database of 17,000 lies. What do you have other than an opinion?
You actually have 17,000 lies
Yes.
that Donald Trump has
Yes.
over the course of how long?
Yes.
In 3 years?
3 years.
17,000
It's
lies.
documented and searchable. And if it's an audio clip, they have a link to the clip.
I believe Doug, by the way.
You actually think
he does lie quite a bit.
You think
Well-
Trump has lied? What would that make it per day? He's been president for what, about 900 days? 1,000 days?
I don't know.
So you're saying he's lied 17 times a day publicly every single day.
That's
Yeah.
on a slow day.
Since the start of his presidency.
I
Yes.
absolutely believe that.
That just seems like a bit excessive.
Okay.
I don't think
And it
he
is.
has lied that often.
It is excessive.
I find that very hard to believe that
But
that
JD
he has actually lied every day of his presidency almost 17 times.
Those are just the
And
ones in
there's-
public. We don't know what he says behind
Right.
doors.
So you think he actually lies 60 to 100 times a day?
He could be telling Melania, hey, I'm good to go, and then 10 minutes later he falls asleep. That's a lie.
Over the course of his life, and he's 73 years old, let's assume that Donald Trump, based on what you're saying, that Donald Trump has told roughly 5 million lies.
I wouldn't find that hard to believe at all.
I wouldn't either.
You know what, Doug? I think that's completely reasonable.
Well,
I sense JD's being
is
sarcastic.
you're going back over the course of his life when he wasn't such a public figure. I mean, don't forget, this is the guy who used to call the scandal rags, use a fake name, and brag about his sexual prowess.
He's always been. Actually, his father is the one that bragged about his sexual prowess. His father, to make him look like he was, the stud when he was younger, when he was actually in boarding school, would bring girls that Donald Trump didn't know about to his boarding school to make him look like he was the alpha of the boarding school.
Oh, I'm not saying that his parents didn't play a role in breaking him horribly. The bottom line is he's a horribly broken person.
Then I think it's reasonable to assume that he's probably been doing this his entire life, and he didn't just decide to start lying 17 times a day when he became president of the United States.
But when you become the
I
president,
agree.
but hold on, let me just interject here and say when you become the president of the United States, you have a responsibility to tell the truth. And I'm not saying that other presidents have always told the truth, but there's no question, JD, you have to admit, even if you don't agree with all the lies that Doug is talking about, you have to admit the president lies on a regular basis. I'm not going to put a number on it. The president is a pathological liar, and I hate to sound like Bernie Sanders here, but it's been happening
He's
since
a
day one.
pathological liar.
Right, exactly.
That was pretty good, Doug.
You have to admit that. You have to admit that. The man lies on a regular basis.
I'm not going to admit that he's a pathological liar. Has he lied before? Yes, of course he has. Has he embellished? I think he actually embellishes more than he lies in his best interest. I think he does that more than he actually just
That's what sociopaths
out
do.
and out lies.
That's what sociopaths do.
Within a reasonable deviation.
All right, well, let's talk about the coronavirus real quickly. If you're just joining us, in studio is Doug Basham. He does a weekly show here Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Let's talk about the coronavirus. I've criticized Mike Pence. I've criticized Donald Trump for putting Pence in charge. This is a man who tried to pray the situation when it came to syringes and the AIDS epidemic. I tried to pray that away. Instead, people died. In 2000, Mike Pence is on record as saying cigarettes don't kill. This is a man who can't even allow his wife to be in a room with another man. He has to be president. I think he's a nut, to be quite frank with you. And this is a man, the other day, he said that people should not be shaking each other's hands. And then yesterday in a press conference says, well, we're going to shake hands. The president's going to shake hands. I think it is a joke. It's a sad joke that this guy is in charge of this stuff. The prayer in chief, or the jerk circle, as I like to call him, the jerk circle Pence. I mean, what do you make of this guy in charge of this?
Well, my first comment is this is another example of Mike Pence acquiescing to Donald Trump. No, we're not going to shake hands anymore. Mike, why'd you say that? I'm going to shake hands. And he immediately caves. I'm going to shake hands. I mean, he has been the biggest lemming that I have ever seen. The way We only wish we had a significant other that looked at us the way Mike Pence looks at Donald Trump when he speaks.
You're right about that.
I've never had that.
You're right. I never had that either. We'll take some phone calls at 702-257-5396. Again, the phone line's open right now if you want to chime in, 702-257-5396. Our guest is Doug Basham. JD, you want to respond to that?
Well, I think Joe Biden did the exact same thing with Barack Obama. He kind of looked at him as a longing figure in his life. But yeah, Pence definitely does like. He's a big fan of Donald Trump, and he doesn't like to get him angry. Clearly,
but here's the thing.
For example, when Donald Trump Jr. said that Democrats actually wish that millions of Americans die due to the coronavirus because it gives them political power, and Mike Pence didn't say that's completely wrong. He said he's justified in making that statement.
Which is absurd.
And that is absurd, and that's over the top. But I think that's pretty standard for vice presidents to want to make their presidents happy.
But here's the difference. Whenever Biden looked at Obama, he wasn't looking at a sociopath. Here's the one thing people tend to forget. There isn't one congressional Republican who doesn't know what a garbage human being Donald Trump is. They're not stupid. They are educated men. A lot of them are attorneys. They went to school for a great many years. And they all said that before the election, before Trump became the nominee. And then they all acquiesced and caved. But make no mistake, there isn't one of them who doesn't know exactly what Donald Trump is.
So we had Tommy Lauren on the show last week.
Oh, my goodness.
I think she's smart. I think she puts on a little bit of an act when it comes to making her TV appearances.
She's definitely an entertainer.
But here's my issue with what she said on our show. I said, can't we have a president who doesn't go after, war veterans? Can't we have a president who doesn't attack women based on looks? And she said, well, I wouldn't do it, but I think he's just joking. I have a huge problem with that, because if Barack Obama said any of those things, she would be all over him. This is my problem with many of the Republicans that support Donald Trump. Not all of them, but many of them. They say, well, it's not something I would do.
I know.
But I like his policies. And to me, that is an embarrassing answer and defense of Donald Trump.
And my favorite one is, well, I wish he wouldn't tweet so much. It's not the frequency. It's the content.
Exactly. When you go after women based on looks, John McCain and all the comments, people say, Brian, you just have a checklist. Well, you know what? It's an indefensible checklist.
But
that's
it wrote
what it is.
itself.
Yeah, it really did. I didn't make this stuff up. Donald Trump is the one that said these people entering our country, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. Yeah. It was Donald Trump who said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, who was, by the way, captured for 5 years. Donald Trump is the one that actually dodged the military because of his supposed bone spurs. Donald Trump is the one a few weeks ago who went after Nancy Pelosi's dentures. I didn't make this stuff up. Donald Trump, it's out of his mouth. We're taking your calls, 702-257-5396. Doug Basham is our guest. Let's go to Chuck. Chuck, you're first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
What up, Chuck?
Hey, I want to ask you, who's responsible for this coronavirus?
Well, we don't know exactly who's responsible for it yet. We don't know the answer to that, Chuck.
So how come every time I'm watching this liberal news networks, they make it seem like it's the government's fault and they don't know what the hell they're doing and blah, blah, blah. This is a brand new disease. Am I correct?
Yes.
And really nobody knows how to handle this because no one's ever seen anything quite like this except in the, way before we were created. So why is it making this a political question of knowledge when it's not?
If I could respond to that, whenever somebody starts off by saying, why are these liberal networks doing this? That's my first clue that you don't patronize them, that you're going by what Donald Trump's state-run propaganda ministry is telling you they're saying. I listen to those quote-unquote liberal networks, and they're not blaming Donald Trump for the virus. They are blaming him for his ambivalence, his downplaying of it, and his lack of failure to respond to it.
Right.
This is brand new.
No one's arguing that.
Yeah, so it's his lack of testing.
His lack of preparing.
What do you think? Who is prepared for this? No one is, right?
But
if
you're missing
was prepared for this, why would MGM Resorts? How come they're not prepared for this? How come?
Number one, because they're getting zero guidance from their government. Number two, when Donald Trump declared his worthless travel ban on January 31st, we had already had our first cases on January 21st. We knew about this back in December. He gave no guidance. All he came up with was a travel ban, as if that's going to stop it, which of course it didn't. We already had people in this country that had contracted it.
He did the same thing as Barack Obama would have done, or anyone else would have done in that leadership position.
No, he
I don't
didn't.
know why people
So
are
can I
making
ask you a
this
question, Chuck?
political question.
Chuck. Let me just jump in here real quick. Did Barack Obama blame a past administration for any diseases in the 8 years he was in office? Because that's what Donald Trump did.
That doesn't mean nothing.
You just
right
said,
now.
oh, well, you just said Barack
It doesn't
Obama
mean
would have.
nothing right
No,
now.
it does, because you just said,
Hey, listen up,
you just said it was this.
flea bag.
Excuse me, a flea bag. You can't have a conversation.
Yeah.
You
Well,
can't have
that's
a.
what the poker players
You know what?
call
You know what?
So
Why
let's
don't you have a?
just
Why
call it
don't you have
what
a?
it is.
Why don't you have a great night at your Klan rally tonight? Get off my show. You scumbag. You see, that's what happens when you prove somebody wrong and they can't come up with facts. They call you a name.
Oh, I
well,
know.
that doesn't fly with me. You're off, buddy.
I'm waiting for them to go after our hair.
Yeah, well, I don't have any hair, so I can't comment. Let me just give out the number again. 702-257-5396 is the number to call again if you want to be a part of the program. 257-5396. That is a perfect example of a nut job on the right who can't come up with facts, can't form his own opinions, can't state eloquently his beliefs. So what does he do at the end of the conversation? He just name calls me. He's the one who brought up Barack Obama. He said the same thing happened in the last administration. I ask a very, very logical question. I say, in the 8 years Barack Obama was president, did he blame the past administration for any diseases? The answer is no. And that is exactly what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump blamed Barack Obama. He did it last week. 257-5396.
Yeah, just to go back to that last caller's point. Again, my first clue was he doesn't watch what he calls liberal media.
Right.
He's stuck inside Trump's media bubble and echo chamber. He proved it. Oh, Barack Obama did the same thing. No, absolutely wrong. Barack Obama had been in office a couple months when the H1N1 hit. He declared a public health emergency the day after the WHO did. What they're now saying on Trump's media is that, oh, he waited 6 months. That's a lie. He waited 6 months before he declared a national emergency. Mm-hmm. But he declared the public health emergency the day after the WHO did, who then didn't declare it a pandemic for 2 months later. When Trump declared a public health emergency on January 31st, we'd already had our first cases 10 days before. It was already a pandemic.
I want to ask you, Doug, what do you think of McCarthy calling this the Chinese coronavirus? There's a lot of Democrats that are very angry that they're calling it racism. What do you say?
I think we need to pick our fights, and I think this is a losing one. I actually, when I started my show last Saturday, I called it the Chinese coronavirus because there are other coronaviruses. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was just to depict where it came from.
Right.
The part of that I don't like is under Donald Trump, we have become a nation of it. Well, some have become a nation of eternal victims that have to blame. Mm-hmm. For years, people have told me on the air, oh, I'm a Republican. I belong to the party of personal responsibility. They take none. And under Trump, it's gotten worse.
Well, what I love is when people call themselves pro-life, and then the second the baby is born, they want to cut food stamps, they want to cut welfare. If you want to call yourself pro-life, then be consistent. Let's take some more phone calls. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next up on the Vegas Take. You are on with Doug Basham. What's going on?
Oh, man, you guys must be having a slow day if I'm already up. I just called in. You don't got more callers.
All right, have a nice day. See you later. It's not a slow day because we're going to get to some other callers, and when you're going to start the phone call by trying to insult us, you could go jump off a cliff. Guess what? We do have other people on the line. Let's go to Lauren. Lauren, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Lauren? What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Just this is the first time I've listened to your channel, and so far I like what I hear. I am concerned. I am a resident, of course, and I work at a local casino, and we're really concerned on what the MGM properties and the other casinos are doing about the buffets and so forth. I really think it's a wrong decision, making everybody scared.
I agree. And Lauren, here's the point I made, and Doug, you can comment on this. What is the most disgusting thing in a casino that you could actually get sick from? I would beg to differ. It's not a buffet. It's a casino chip. Chips are some of the dirtiest things you could touch. Okay, but guess what? I haven't heard MGM Properties shutting down any of their casinos or any of their table games where they make all the money. No, they decide to shut down the buffets. It's ludicrous. It's ridiculous.
It is. And, you know, and to touch on what you were saying is people are scared because of our administration. They're scared that he can't handle the situation, and you put Mike Putz involved in this, and like you said, he can't deal with it, and people are scared. You know, people are like my wife and friends were going out to a buffet. Oh, we don't want to go because of the virus. It's like, you got to live your life. People are friggin' scared, man.
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and listen,
Yeah.
absolutely. And listen, there's nothing wrong with being scared. There's nothing wrong with taking this serious. What I don't want is I don't want people thinking that they can't go out and have a good time, and I don't want you to be scared, but at the same time, I don't want others, playing this down, because people have died. I mean, there are people that have called into this show that think the coronavirus doesn't exist. They're the same people that think 9/11 was an inside job. They're the same people that think there was nobody up on planes that went into the World Trade. These people are nuts. Don't listen to them. Sadly, I hate to say it, but our leadership in Washington right now, I wouldn't really listen to everything they have to say either. I think you need to speak to your doctors. I think you need to speak to professionals. Clearly, Mike Pence is a professional prayer. That's about all he is. He's a professional homophobe. Mike Pence is not a professional leader, and he doesn't know how to lead this country, certainly not a virus. If he had it his way, he would pray it away, Lauren.
He would. He definitely would. But, it's the reality is that now thousands of people in this town are going to lose their jobs. And what
it sucks.
What is the government going to do to help these incomes that they're lost?
Lauren, you're right. You're right. You make you make some valid points there, Lauren. We appreciate the phone call. 702-257-5396. That number to call again, 257-5396. Let's go to Bobby. Bobby, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, gentlemen, how you doing today?
Good, Bobby. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, I want to talk to my good friend Doug. I haven't talked to him in a while. I call him on his show every now and again. And I just, he says Donald Trump is a liar. And I think every man in the world lies. But you know what? Lies really matter when people tell you can keep your doctor.
Okay, I have to interrupt here, Bobby. First of all, as I have said more times than I can remember, Donald Trump has a documented, searchable database of 17,000 lies. He lies every... Hold on, Bobby. It's my turn. He lies every time he opens his mouth. The best you can do is go back 11, 12 years and say, well, if you like your doctor and your plan, guess what? Most people were able to keep their doctor. And Bobby, I'm sorry. I wasn't finished. I'll let you know. I'll give you a cue. What Obama did was make an inartful statement. The reality is there was nothing in the Affordable Care Act that mandated... Bobby, you weren't given a cue.
DACA is illegal.
Bobby.
Illegal. DACA is illegal.
Bobby.
Is it not?
Bobby, pay attention. I'm about to teach you something.
You pay attention. DACA is illegal, right?
All right, let me just hold on a second, Bobby. I dislike Trump probably just as much as Doug does. Maybe Doug dislikes him more than I do, but I dislike Trump very much. Do you really want to compare the human being that is Donald Trump to Barack Obama? Forget about, I know you just said that everybody lies in this country, but everybody is not the president of the United States. So that's a ridiculous take you just had. So let me ask you, Bobby.
Barack Obama, your God.
Okay, first of all, Bobby,
went up from $150.
Bobby, no, hold on a second.
$100.
Bobby, you just said Barack Obama is my God. Is that what you just said?
That's all you all bring up?
Okay, so first of all, you're a moron to assume that because I didn't vote for Barack Obama. So would you like to clear up that statement because you have no idea what my...
I'm not talking about
Excuse me.
buddy.
Well, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Pay attention. Excuse me. You're talking to me now.
You're just for your commie?
Okay, I can't even have
Hey, Ashley, here's a thought. Why don't you pop this guy down and then Brian and I can beat him up?
Okay, first of all, I can't even have a conversation with you, Bobby, because you're so ignorant. Okay, you're so ignorant, Bobby. I can't even have a conversation with you. If you want to compare the person, the honest person, this guy's still just get rid of this guy. He's an idiot. The bottom line is, if you want to compare the human being that is Barack Obama to Donald Trump, you cannot win that discussion. You cannot. Now, if you want to talk about policy, I'm willing to have that conversation with you. But for you to say you think that Barack Obama lied just as many times as Donald Trump, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life.
The fact that he had to go back 11, 12 years to find one is all you need to know.
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy who would say, well, I wish he wouldn't tweet so much. I mean... The depths to which these people will sink to defend the indefensible Trump is just appalling. And it goes against everything they at least tried to claim they stood for years.
And the fact, because I don't like Donald Trump, he wants to say that he thinks Barack Obama is my God, is, again, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. I tend to think when a guy like that calls into this show, his God is David Duke. We'll tend to see what he thinks about that. We're going to take a quick break. Doug Basham is our guest. We'll take some more phone calls on the other side. 257-5396. Be back right after this. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Our very special guest is Doug Basham, who does a show here, a weekly show, Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. And JD is now back in studio. We're a lot of people on the right are like, where's JD? He's our voice. So, JD, you find yourself back in studio now, and we can continue this conversation. Doug, I wanted to bring this up. House Majority Democrat Jim Clyburn appears ready to call off the Democratic primary. At least he did yesterday, calling Vice President Joe Biden the victor. Do you think it's fair to do that at this point, or do you still think it's too early?
Well, it's too early, and it's just anti-democratic. I don't really understand exactly what he meant by that, like time to shut this down. I don't know if that's a subtle call for Bernie to resign, but you can't just shut it down.
Right.
Like you can a body that's been raped.
But Biden's going to win. We all know that. It's inevitable. Biden is going to be the man, right?
It looks like it, and if I can say, I'm kind of disappointed where the Democratic Party has ended up. I posted this on my Facebook page last week on Monday, the day before Super Tuesday, and I said the general consensus is it's going to come down to a two-man race between two 78-year-olds who are going to make the deranged, unhinged Donald Trump the youngster in the presidential race. It's like with all the people, with all the Democrats in this country, we've got some guy. Now, I love Uncle Joe. I saw him speak in Washington years ago. He was dynamic. This is not that Joe Biden.
Okay, but
I agree with that entirely.
Here's my issue with Joe Biden. I have respect for him.
Yep.
Okay, I do. I really do. I think he's had a difficult life. I've lost members of my family in a car accident before. Sadly, I know what he went through. I think he's a decent man.
He is.
With that being said, his age has gotten the best of him, I think, to an extent.
Yeah.
I still think he's a smart guy, but he does have a lot of gaffes. Now, there's a difference between a gaffe and a lie.
Yep.
A gaffe is saying 150 million people have died at the hands of gun violence. That's half the country. Obviously, he doesn't believe that. That was a mistake. When you're Donald Trump and you blatantly lie, there's a difference there. I don't like the Joe Biden who points his finger in somebody's face when he disagrees with them. I like the Barack Obama who is willing to treat everybody with respect. We need respect back in the White House. I wish Joe Biden would handle things better. I wish he wouldn't say stupid things. I wish he wouldn't behave in that way and say someone's full of crap, or used another word that I can't use. So we have a guy who called in last segment. The guy who called in last segment, I believe his name is Bobby. He calls in last segment. He says, Barack Obama is my God, okay, because I don't like Donald Trump. I take issue to that.
Yeah.
I take issue to anybody who says something that is ignorant. So I said, have fun with your God, David Duke. Obviously, that's an insult. If you're going to insult me...
I caught that.
If you're going to insult me, I'm going to insult you back. And if, as right-wingers like to call it, snowflakes. If you're going to be a snowflake, then don't call in. But you know what? Since I'm in such a wonderful mood today, Doug, this man was insulted, and he's so hurt, he decided to call back.
Oh.
Bobby, why did you decide to call back into the program?
All right, my friend, I didn't tell you personally that Barack Obama was your God. I was talking to Doug.
Okay? Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it from here.
Okay. And
my point is, Bobby.
Hold on a second. I took offense because I'm not white. David Duke would probably shoot me or hang me.
Okay, well,
I might do it.
Okay, well, first of all,
so he made an assumption.
No, I didn't make an assumption. No, I didn't make an assumption.
I'm not a right winger.
Okay, Bobby, I didn't make an assumption.
Bobby,
Bobby, can I respond to him?
Saying that the leader of the KKK is his God is certainly making an assumption.
You're right. No, it's not, because can I respond, or do you want to talk for me? Bobby, I don't think you're going to a Klan rally tonight. I don't think that your God is David Duke. I said something that was completely ridiculous and over the top. I'm sure you would agree. Because when somebody, and I don't want to speak for Doug Basham, but when somebody dislikes Donald Trump and you make an assumption that their God is the last president because they're a Democrat, that is pure stupidity. So I'm going to say something stupid because you said something stupid first. If you notice, I didn't say something first, you did. Now, if you want to continue this conversation and have a good debate, I'm more than willing to do that with you. But that's the way I handle callers like you who make assumptions like that. Again, I don't speak for Doug Basham, but you're making assumptions. Don't do that. What is your beef with what we've said on this show? And I'll have a conversation with you.
Okay, so we want to talk about lies. How about when Mr. Obama said, hey, if I haven't gotten rid of the deficit, I shouldn't be a second-term president.
Okay, so let me respond to that, okay? First of all, let's just assume that you're right and Barack Obama has had some lies. Does that make it right for Donald Trump to lie 10 times a day? This is called whataboutism, Bobby, so I ask you the question now.
It's actually 17 times a day.
If Barack Obama has lied in the past, and by the way, he's not the liar-in-chief like Donald Trump is, does that make it okay for Donald Trump to lie? Is that all you do is do whataboutism?
Well, I'm not trying to compare any.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're absolutely comparing.
And here's the problem with Bobby.
Hold on a second. He asked me a question. Let me answer. So here's the thing. Did Barack Obama, did he actually fulfill his promises as president? No.
Well, let me answer that question.
Has Donald Trump...
You asked me a question. Okay, you asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer it, and we got to get to some other callers because, quite frankly, I'm sick of you. Donald Trump campaigned on, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. So don't you give me this crap about Obama and his promises, okay? Obama took over a horrendous economy, the worst. And where did he leave it at, okay? If you want to talk about the deficit, Donald Trump has accumulated more debt in this country in his 3 years as president than Barack Obama did. But you don't want to talk about that because you're biased. Tell David Duke I said hello. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jay.
You're totally appropriate, Brian.
Jay, you're next on the Vegas take.
Double down, just like Trump. Very Trumpian of you to do that.
All right. Well, go ahead, Jay.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, what's up, Jay?
How you guys doing today?
Good.
We're doing fine, Jay. Go ahead because we're up against the clock.
Yeah, doing well.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to say I listened to Doug Basham, Shapiro. You two guys should team up together. You know why? Because you're the best show ever.
Well, I appreciate that, Jay. Thank you.
I'm serious, man.
Your Obama phone is in the mail. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm serious because I was listening to Doug this weekend, and I called him. I said he's the master. He's the master fact finder. You the guy who don't take no for an answer, Brian. You push the envelope, man. We need more people like you guys on the radio station.
Jay, I appreciate that. What do you think about J.D. Sharp?
I like it. Brian is he is definitely the consummate Trump-hating salesman. I totally agree with that.
JD's cool, man. Donald Trump's so man, but you can't be all up in him on like
Jay,
that.
honest question here.
Listen, let me finish, bro. Let me finish.
All right, you can finish.
Because Donald Trump go back up on you, man.
I hope
He
not.
gonna keep it real.
I really hope not.
The dude don't care about nobody but himself, his kids.
It's true.
I care about my kids too.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree, Jay. Jay, I disagree with you. I don't think Donald Trump cares about Don Jr. I don't.
You know what? You're right, bro. You're right. Because
I think he wants to.
Hey, Brian.
He wants to go on a date with his daughter. I'll give you that.
Brian, if he did not care about Don Jr., Mike Pence wouldn't have cowered to him when he made that statement.
Well,
so we know that's not true.
Daddy, Please Love Me. The title of Don Jr.'s new book, Daddy, Please Love Me.
Jay, honest to God, do you think I'm a jive turkey?
Say what?
Am I a jive turkey?
What are you talking?
Jack turkey.
Jive, J-I-V-E, jive turkey.
Who uses that term? Did you just watch the movie?
He said I was cool.
So much up here.
I'm late for Soul Train.
Did you just watch the movie Airplane yesterday? What are you talking about? All right, let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's going on, man?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
What's up, Alex?
First thing, thank God I got. I just forgot his name. Your guest. What was his name?
Doug Basham.
Doug Basham. Doug.
Yes.
Good thing I got your autograph years ago when you were in the movie industry over there near Maryland, Charleston. You were such a nice guy.
What do you mean was?
You were a very nice guy. Anyway.
He is a nice guy.
Real quick, as far as Donald Trump, I'm Hispanic. And let me tell you something. I know you guys keep going after his lies, but you know what? I'd rather take his lies and get something done in the country rather than what Barack Obama was.
Except that he's not getting anything done.
But he didn't get nothing done. As far as poor people, he helped out poor people with the earned income credit. He doubled it. Okay, so that helped out poor people. I know poor people that now have opened up their eyes and realize that Donald Trump is not what the media is painted.
Alex, I have a question for you, and I appreciate your kind comments that I used to be a nice guy.
No, you still are.
I know, I'm just teasing.
I don't know you anymore, but I dealt with you on a weekly basis. What a friendly guy you were.
Okay, I have a question. I don't understand how anybody can listen to Donald Trump talk for any more than 2 minutes and not realize that he is a consummate bullcrapper.
Okay, look. I like a bullcrapper that does something for the country.
There's my answer. I like bullcrappers.
Wait. I'm not a 10-year-old. I'm over 40 now, and you know something?
I didn't say you were a young person.
Come here and tell me what they were going to do for the country and all this, and they didn't do nothing.
And what has Trump done? What has Trump done? Alex, what has Trump done?
Okay, for example, in my personal case, I saved over $2,500 to almost $3,000 a year on that enforced mandate of that insurance. It was a joke. I was getting ripped off. I didn't get any coverage.
All right, well, Alex, listen, Alex, I appreciate your phone call. At one point in your life, I think you were a very nice guy. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Andy. Andy, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, guys. So,
what's up, Andy?
I've been listening, and I just heard Brian react to a caller because he was defending himself by insulting him.
Yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Go ahead, Andy.
Okay,
considering how much you guys both hate Donald Trump and you accuse him of doing that, it's very hypocritical.
Okay, well, Andy, go ahead and go ahead and try to make.
I just made his point for him.
Okay, well, he's the caller, so let him make his point, and then I'll respond to it. Go ahead, Andy.
Okay, the point being is Trump is constantly being attacked
as
by
he should be.
The media. What?
As he should be.
Okay, so let me give you an first of all, Andy, I have to respond. I have to respond to what you just said. I gave you an opportunity. First of all, I'm not the president of the United States. I'm a local radio talk show host. That's number one. The president sets the example, not me. So don't you try comparing. Excuse me.
You're still a public figure.
Excuse me. Do not compare me to the president of the United States. Okay.
You're a public figure. You're on the radio.
I am not an. Excuse me.
But we're a little further down on the totem pole.
Okay,
Brian is a local celebrity,
that's number
but
one.
soon to be coast to coast radio celebrity.
He's got the number one talk show on the radio, so
that's fact.
Hey,
okay, number one. Okay, number two. Let me finish my statement. Number two.
Okay.
It is never okay, no matter who goes after the president, for the president to go after a woman based on looks, to a president to go after someone because they're an immigrant, for a president to go after a Gold Star family, for a president to go after a POW for being captured. Now, you can say, hold on, you can say what you want about the quote-unquote liberal media going after Trump, but guess what? Fox News went after Barack Obama for 8 years. Barack Obama never called them fake news. He took it like a man. Donald Trump is the most sensitive, thin-skinned individual I have ever seen in my life take office. So if you want to blame the liberals and the media for it, fine. You can have your opinions, sir. But number one,
we are in an age where we are beyond politically correct. Do you agree with that?
That does not mean you should go after women based on looks and go after POWs. That is a horrible take. That is a horrible take.
We are beyond that.
And look, the issue with left-wing media is they are not used to a president actually responding when attacked. Now, Donald Trump responds too often.
It's ridiculous.
And I think he responds the wrong way a lot of the time. But he always responds.
There's a difference between.
And I would think that this whole issue is being.
Nobody should be surprised by the fact that he reacts the way he does.
I think this whole thing is being mischaracterized.
Brian overreacted to that caller.
So let me ask you a question, Andy. When somebody, no, I didn't overreact. I didn't admit to that at all. Let me be very clear on this.
Calling him the guy
are you going to let me? Are you going to let? Okay. I don't care what the. Excuse me. I don't care what the color of his skin is. I said something. Because I'm reacting to what he said. Now, he said Barack Obama was my God.
Just like Trump reacts to people that attack him.
Now, excuse me. I am not the president of the United States. And if somebody excuse me, when somebody says something ignorant and stupid, I'm going to respond with the same thing, and I'm going to get them off the show because they don't deserve any more airtime. Now, is there any other ridiculous point you'd like to make? Or do I move?
Yes.
Actually,
I have one.
Let's talk about Pence and your whole.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
And the whole.
Let's do that.
And how a terrible leader he is.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Why don't you characterize what he said about the whole handshaking thing correctly? Because he didn't. You're saying that nobody should be shaking hands. His quote was exactly this, and let me read it to you so that way your listeners can.
Please do.
You can read.
He said, I expect the president will do this, will continue to do that, referring to shaking hands. What this is a broad recommendation for Americans.
So he's giving the Americans a broad.
Is to wash your hands.
So he's giving recommendations, a broad recommendation to the country, and then saying he's going to continue to shake hands, and the president going to. Oh my goodness! All right, Andy. All right, Andy. I'm not going to get into the weeds with you. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
But
hey, we have Gray Basham and Bald Basham in the same room. That's pretty historic, gentlemen.
I told you they're going to come after our hair.
Brian, you're not. Brian, that's not funny. Making fun of my hair. Please go on, move on. What would you like to discuss?
Brian, do you ever lie?
Brian, do you ever lie? Is that the? So you're trying to compare me to the president.
Brian, do you lie?
Do you ever call into the show and just make stupid
question.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
You lied on the air, Brian.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Let me bring up a remembrance to you about Doug Basham.
Oh, here we go. It's a gotcha moment. Brian, just make your point, or I'm going to move on to the next call.
A caller said that you sounded like Doug Basham, and your reply was, I don't know who Doug Basham is. I've never heard of Doug Basham.
You're right.
But
you're
you
right.
had called in to his program.
You're right. So let me explain.
Saturday.
So let me explain something to you. If you can be quiet and listen, because every single time you call into this show,
I love this, Brian.
Can I respond?
Absolutely, of course.
Thank you. So every time you call into the show, it tries to be like a gotcha moment. So let me educate you now. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that was about a year ago. I did not know who Doug Basham was. In fact,
I barely knew.
Let me finish. So I called into his show, not even knowing his name. I heard him give out the number, and I called into his show. So if you want to be an idiot and be wrong, Brian, you go ahead. But I'm going to move on to the next call because I think you are an idiot.
Real quick, before we do, there's another example of someone trying to take one thing you said to justify Donald Trump's 17,000 lies.
Brian is a right-wing buffoon. He calls in all the time with trying to do these gotcha moments.
And here's the problem with whataboutism. Oh, well, what about when Obama did this? Well, did you like it when he did it, or did you hate it? And the answer is, I hated it. Then how are you using that to justify Trump doing it?
Exactly. 257-5396. Let's take some more calls. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, Brian. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
I'd like to take the same side I took yesterday with you. As far as I'm concerned,
no new material.
Executive chair, Brian, and I agree. I'll even go down to bellhop like I did yesterday. What I'm saying, Brian, Trump is actually like Humpty Dumpty.
Well, he's got the same body type. I agree.
When it comes from
Would you mind explaining?
When it comes from your heart, Brian, there's things that Trump has done. It really doesn't tickle things that should be properly understood.
All right, Wayne, I appreciate that. I appreciate that call. As Donald Trump would say, low energy. Let's go to Corey. Corey, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
I'm actually a big fan of Wayne.
Hey, boys.
What's up?
What's up, Corey?
Hey, I don't have an opinion on this, but I just have a question. If Joe Biden made it in and wanted to outlaw assault rifles, I'm assuming there are already millions of them out there.
Right.
How could that be done?
Well, it would be an extremely difficult thing to do, but let me answer your question by asking one. What is your solution to all the mass shootings and the carnage we have with gun violence then?
I don't have one.
Okay, well, here's my answer. I think it's several different things, and it's a fair point that you bring up, but we have to do something. I think it starts with universal background checks. Then we have red flag laws that need to be put into effect. There's no question we have to do something and address mental illness. There's a lot of things that need to be done. What has Mitch McConnell done? With all those bills that are sitting on his desk, Mitch McConnell's a coward. Can we agree on that, Corey?
Okay.
You see where I'm going here? Now, you make a valid point, and I agree with you. This is not an overnight thing. It could take 20 or 30 years. Could take 50 years.
Yep.
But we need to implement something, Corey, in the name of those who've lost their lives at the hands of gun violence.
And if I could just add something to the people that say, oh, well, those laws don't work. You're right, except in every civilized country in which they've been implemented.
Exactly. Corey, I appreciate the phone call, and I hope we answered your question. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Hi, guys. I just wanted to compliment Doug on what he said about
Go
the
ahead.
17,000 lies. Glenn Kessler is the man, and the name of the site is the Pinocchio Factor, Washington Post, and something else.
And not only that, easy for me to say, Glenn Kessler is a lifelong conservative Republican.
Okay. Can I make one last statement?
Sure,
guys?
sure, go ahead.
Yes, sir. A lot of calls coming in.
Yes, sir.
Every time the Fed lowers the interest rate a quarter of a point, Trump owes the Bundesbank $800 million. He saves $800,000. So he's always pressuring the Fed to lower the interest rates. Does it make any sense?
That makes complete sense, Steve. Hey, I appreciate the phone call, my man. Thank you for calling in. Let's go to Dr. Doug. He is next on the Vegas Take. No relation to Doug Basham. Doug, go ahead.
No, but I can't wait to listen to Doug on the weekends. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Doing well.
All right. What's on my mind is you got a couple of issues that go out there, and this is the problem with what's going on. You and I, you, JD, and actually Doug, can have a reasonable conversation about things. When the right wing goes after and tries to change anything about the abortion laws, the latest thing in the Supreme Court was about a doctor having privileges in the area so he could go to a hospital and take care of his patients. There should have been no outrage there. And the right wing should not be outraged when somebody's trying to do something reasonable about guns, like background checks. Brian, you're dead on. You got to do something.
Yeah, I agree. And Doug, that's what I do, Doug. Doug, when somebody calls in and they criticize the left for gun control issues, I immediately just say, then what is your solution? And some of the idiots say, more guns are the answer. The nut jobs say that. No. They don't have any solutions themselves. The bottom line is there are a bunch of bills that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. Mitch McConnell, the useless turtle, is doing absolutely nothing. And, we lost 59 people October 1, and yet there are still some idiots in this city alone that think that, bump stocks. Trump did the bump stocks, so nothing else should be done. Let's just go about our merry way. These are people that are not related to any of those that lost their lives.
Thanks for the kind words. You're right. One thing our show does better than a lot of shows across the country, in my opinion, is we are able to convey both sides while having a reasonable conversation and not just jamming it down your throat like the right-wing media does and the left-wing media does. I'm talking shows like Rush Limbaugh. With us, you're not going to get that. You're going to have the ability to make your own decision based on all of our opinions.
I think we have Rush Limbaugh on the line. Rush Limbaugh wants to chime in when it comes to the coronavirus. Rush, what do you have to say about this? Did we lose Rush Limbaugh? I thought... Oh, there he is. Thank you, Rush. Give that man the Medal of Freedom Award. I'll tell you that.
And for that, he's paid millions of dollars a year.
You know what he makes, Doug? He makes $92 million
Give that guy the Medal of Freedom, man.
And by the way, explain this to me. If there's too many drugs on the street, which the general consensus is that's true, how can the solution be more drugs? If there's too many gangs on the street, which there are.
It's a ridiculous argument.
Who would say the solution is more gangs?
Well, there's too many
guns? More guns.
There's too many drug dealers out there, so let's not go after the drug dealers. It's the dumbest excuse. It's stupid.
Well, and I pose this question to a lot of our guests when they come on the show that are ultra-conservative. I say, okay, so the musket in the late 1700s, that was kind of the weapon of mass destruction, but it took about 2.5 minutes to load and kill somebody. Now you have an AR-15, a semi-automatic weapon, and you could get off 50 or 100 rounds in 30 seconds. Don't you think that possibly the Second Amendment should be revisited to match technology? And some reasonable ones agree with me. And again, I'm conservative, but I'm not over the top. Outside the door, right-wing conservative. I like to apply logic and reason.
I said that
arguments.
to Brian when he called me a few nights ago. We were talking about you. Nothing good. No, I'm kidding. Perfect. I said I like JD because I said I've heard him ask guest questions that I've said I would ask that question.
By the way, for the record, I called Doug. Me and Doug had phone sex for about 90 minutes. Let's go to Anthony.
Right, like you can last that long.
That's actually a very valid
He's
point.
Actually that's been a request.
It was the best 36 seconds of my life, Brian.
I'm quick to the finish line. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Anthony?
Hey, guys. It's an honor to speak with Doug Basham. I think as me as a hardened supporter of Joe Biden, I think that the vote for Joe Biden is that's an adult vote, right? His experience is needed right now. He gave an interview, and they asked him, Joe, would you have your AG investigate Donald Trump and his administration? And the first thing Joe Biden said is, no, because that's not the job of the president. The president doesn't have his AG investigate people.
Yep.
You see, that's experience, and that's why the man is an adult. And he would bring honor to the presidency.
Let's let Doug respond to that. Anthony, we do appreciate your phone call. Go ahead, Doug.
I agree. At his core, and Joe Biden definitely has one, whereas Trump does not. Joe Biden is a decent, honorable man. While a lot of people on the right like to claim they're the party of morals and family values, Joe Biden is family values. He almost gave up his seat in the Senate because he wouldn't leave his boys in the hospital after that accident where he lost his wife and his baby girl.
Well, and it was very kind of him to speak to the Ukraine and get his son a job making $60,000 a month in a field he has no experience in as well.
All right.
Oh, you're not going to go there, really? Do we have to re-debunk that whole Ukraine thing again?
I think that's another debate for another show. But I want to say this though. First of all, Doug, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure.
You're a breath of fresh air because it is, and I think I speak for JD as well when I say when we invite somebody from the station to come in and you treat us with respect, we appreciate that. So I want to start by saying that. Thank you. I also respect anybody that gets a lot of listeners and gets a lot of phone calls, unless you're Rush Limbaugh. You're not a racist. You're not a homophobe. So you are good for this station. Not because of your political views, but because you do an entertaining and a good show, and I have listened to it. And it's true. I didn't know who you were a year ago because I don't listen to a lot of radio.
Right.
That's true. But you do a good job, and I appreciate you coming in, and we want to have you in again. And I think it's a good spirited debate. And next time, maybe we can get JD going a little bit earlier in the interview. So
sure, I'll be back tomorrow morning.
Fair enough. All seriousness, Doug, I really do appreciate you coming in, and we'd love to have you in again sometime.
Hey, it's my
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks,
It was
guys.
a lot of fun. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, coronavirus porn. That's right, coronavirus porn actor Chase Pounder coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take.